Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Barsha Barsha Barsha, episode 13, with my incredible guest, Leandra Ellis-Gaston. She is going to be amazing today, I guarantee you, because we learned so much from Leandra. Hello. I am going to sing Leandra my song that I sing everybody when they come on the show. So Leandra, this is my song, but I had to find something to rhyme with your last name. I'm really excited. Where do you go on Mondays when you want to have fun? Where can you go on Mondays when your day is done? Well, Fireside Chat is where it's at. The guests are all the best. But if you're talking Broadway and you're doing some casting, call her up, Leandra Ellis-Gaston. Join me in welcoming Leandra Ellis-Gaston. That was good.
I loved it.
I rhymed. Thank you, everybody. That's the people clapping for us. Yes, there's clapping and laughing. Show her how the clapping and laughing goes. Isn't that great? Leandra, if you want to see us bigger, you just touch our videos and then it gets big on the screen, but it's okay. You can see the audience this way. First of all, I had to find words to rhyme with Gaston. That's why I asked you. And I found Caston, Laston, and with apostrophe. No, it didn't work. But anyway, I am so honored that you decided to do this on your day off. And I'm glad it wasn't after a whole week of shows because you were just on vacation, right?
Yes, I was just on vacation in Costa Rica.
And have you been there before? Is that where you go to just like relax all the time, or is this your first time?
No, this is my first time. So I'm really lucky. My husband's father owns in Costa Rica. So we just stayed out there on the Caribbean side in the province of Limon, and it was incredible.
Okay, that is fantastic. Okay, let's start right off at the beginning where we met. Not the beginning of your life first and your career and everything. I just want to talk about my first impressions with you because when you walked into the room and realized it was your Broadway kind of premiere, the first time on Broadway, what were your feelings? I mean, as a kid, did you aspire to this?
Yeah, I did. I knew I wanted to be on Broadway when I did, what was it, Annie, when I was in 5th grade.
Listen, you have to tell the story about the bow. I've been doing research. Please talk about playing Miss Hannigan in Annie and the bow.
So I was Miss Hannigan in Annie when I was in 5th grade. And it was like our elementary school musical. I'd never done a musical before except singing in church. And at this time in particular, I was really, really hungry. And a little frustrating as a kid. Like, kids hungry, it can be a lot. And the people came and got me an apple, and I was tearing this apple up, and they're like, "Man, you have to go out for your bow." So I go out with this apple in my hand, just eating my apple, not even thinking about a bow. And I bow, and everybody stands up and starts screaming. And I couldn't see my mom. Like, I thought when you go out, you just see your family, and like normally your family really hoots and hollers. And so, but for me, I mean, the whole auditorium or the cafeteria stood up and clapped.
Cafeteria, right? Yes.
Yeah. And so it was incredible. And I think in that moment, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to do something like this.
So that was like, now you were 12. Were you 12 when that happened?
Yeah, I was 12.
Just to see a 12-year-old come out with an apple half eaten in their hand because they were so hungry after a performance. Do you still have that thing, though, where you go on stage without eating? Some people like to eat before they go on stage. What's your thing?
I don't really eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I have, too, and then I go crazy afterwards. Now, let's let everyone know who doesn't know. I put it in the promos, but I need everyone to know. When you have a role, which Leandra has, which is one of the iCats from Tina and the iCats, right? Tina Turner. You also have Dance Captain, and then they tell you you're going to be a Tina cover.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think at this point you could probably move into any of the women's parts?
I do.
Okay. How many parts have you played since we've been there?
I have done all of the Ikettes plus the three plus Tina. I've done 8 out of
See, she waits for applause like a good performer. Go ahead.
I've done I've done 8. So let's see. There's 3 Ikettes plus Eileen. There is the Katie track. There is Carla and Judith. Yeah, so I've done 8 out of 10. Actually, Tina. No, so I've done 8 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, can I just explain to them? I know not everybody here is in theater, but I'm sure they want to know. As a dance captain, isn't it required of you as well to go watch the show once a week and to give notes to everybody?
Yeah.
So, do you straddle management and performer?
I do. I have this very weird line between being an actor and also being on the management side.
Right.
I'm lucky. So at Tina, I get swung out once or twice a week to watch the show just to make sure it's maintained.
Right.
And then the other days I perform full time. I try as hard as possible, actually, to, as I'm performing on stage, my regular track, to shut off my dance captain hat. To have those boundaries, especially like with cast members. It was different when I swung. I could watch anytime, all the time, and just go on and do the track and then go away. There was a bit of distance there that I enjoyed. Now I don't have that distance. So I try my hardest to kind of have good lines of places and good boundaries. And Tina is such a loving community. So because of that, it's also super helpful.
Right.
How it
So
works.
when you're giving a Tina notes, you're actually I've noticed they don't have any weirdness like, well, she's a Tina, she does it that way. They don't have any of that. You give them Tina choreography notes and they take them.
Yeah, because also too, I think what's important and what's really cool about Philida Lloyd and Antony, the choreographer.
Philida is the director and Antony's the choreographer. Go ahead, Leandra.
Yes. When it comes to Tina, which is separate, which sometimes I like to say is separate from the Tina musical, is that each individual person who plays Tina gets to bring an interpretation to it. So the choreography may exist, but the way in which they produce the choreography or need to do the choreography comes out of that person's natural ability and natural instincts. So there's no way for me to note something that is natural to them. I only can note what the step is the mechanics of the step correct, not in how
stylistically.
Yeah. How are the mechanics? Is that something that's in the Tina dance language? Other than, is that naturally what that human being does? I mean, with the 2 Tinas we have right now, Nkeki Obe-Malekwe and Kayla Davion, they are two so far on the spectrum of Tinas. I mean, complete opposites.
Yes.
But through the exact same movement, but how they interpret it is different.
Right.
So my goal is to make sure that everyone's doing the same step, but your interpretation is up to you.
Wow. And then you have that same luxury too.
Yeah.
So you have to follow those steps. And so can you talk about, so here you are, you're doing ICAT, you're doing dance captain, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, because this is what happens, everybody, they say to you, you're going on as Tina tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now you're stepping into a principal role on Broadway, the star of the show. And, one of your quotes, can I just quote you real quick? You said, when I started Tina, I was a swing and we hadn't rehearsed yet. I got the call 1 hour before saying I was going on. Everyone was terrified because they're like, oh my God, does she know it? Does she know it? And I'm like, yeah, I think I know it. I'm good to go on. So tell them what happened when you went on, but also at the end of the show, what happened to you emotionally?
Yeah. So that story is like verbatim. When I went on, I just kind of just did everything I can do to make sure I knew it. But at the end, I just could not stop bawling my eyes out because my dreams came true. It also was very funny. I made my Broadway debut in Tina, which making your Broadway debut as a dance captain doesn't happen often. It's not very common. And so because I was a dance captain, people had already thought that this might have been my second or third Broadway show. So the company wasn't aware until intermission that it was my Broadway debut.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it was really cool because the way people rallied around me after that, they could not believe for my Broadway debut, no rehearsal, that I just went up there and did it. But it was.
I got to give applause too. I really. Okay, go ahead.
It was incredible. So,
now, can I just tell people, because no one knows, I mean, like, okay, so the steps. We've gone over the vocal parts, but for Tina, there's another level. I mean, and it's quick changes. Tell them how many quick changes you have as Tina.
There are, I want to say there might be, maybe 18 quick changes is a lot.
And a quick change is when she goes off to the side of the stage quickly. There are people there to give her a drink of water. There are people there to put the new costume on. There are people, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I've seen it backstage. It's unbelievable.
It's insane.
Is this your forte in life? Like, you can multitask, you can see overview, because you're also a producer. I've seen that you've produced things.
Yeah, I don't know. I call myself a joy creator. So anything that allows me to access joy and to give that to others, I want to be a part of.
I love joy creation. That's so good, joy creation.
Yeah.
I got to give you a fanfare.
I love that.
I got to give you a fanfare.
Yes.
So I want to just talk about, okay, so now we know what you did. You cried at the end. It was your Broadway debut, but you did do On the Road, Beautiful. Is that correct? I did. So if anybody doesn't know, that's the musical about Carole King. Mm-hmm. How long did you do Beautiful on the road?
I did Beautiful for about a year.
Okay, great. And that's another great show about a great icon.
Yeah, I've kind of been in the jukebox land for a while, which I really, really enjoy. I'm hoping to step out of that soon, but yes, it's incredible.
Okay, so now this is where I want to go. Now I'll go back because I want to say two things. When I met you, first thing, I knew you were a very religious person. And I want to talk about that in a minute too, because I know it's so important to who you are as a person. But even with your religion that is different than mine, because the show is all about Buddhism and chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo to get yourself out of the situation she was in abusively with Ike Turner. You turned to me, one of the first rehearsals, I'll never forget it. You were sitting close to me. I was at a table, I was listening, and you said to me, I really want to learn how to do that. I really want you to give me a lesson on Buddhism. And I was like, I mean, it was just, Jet, you came at this in a spiritual kind of like you said, a joy creator or whatever and that you were really into learning about it. And so you could portray it correctly. And I think I gave you a tape of me chanting or something like that. So tell us about your faith and how it helps you and why you wanted to go into the Buddhism so you could portray it correctly.
Yeah, so I'm a Christian and I grew up in the church, but more than just growing up in the church, I grew up in an environment where faith and spirituality is key to life. And so beyond just being a Christian, I'm a spiritual being. I am a part of a greater plan. Yes. And so because of that, I think it allows me to have access to my brain and my heart in a way that allows me to accept other forms of faith.
And that is so true. I want to just say, it really moved me that you quoted in your bio Ephesians 2:8-9, because I don't even know the New Testament, but I looked it up. And what it is, for by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For you to put that in your bio and not even say it, just say, look it up. Look look up Ephesians. Is that a quote that you carried around with you, that it's not to be boastful, but to actually do things out of love and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I'm not really big on social media. I try. I'm not like people try to look stuff up and they're like, you don't post. And I'm like, I think I don't do that because I want to experience the now
Right.
and I want to experience life. And it's given to me in a way where I don't know if a picture or a post can express it the way I felt it. And
Yeah.
so, what I want to give to people, if they see me in a show or something I produced or something I'm being a part of, is that there was a sense of we created joy through Christ, or we created joy through what you believe in,
Right.
and out of faith, and it was an experience that you can carry elsewhere. That is the whole thing. It's not to boast to me. It's for him, or it's for the universe, or it's for what you believe in. It's
Right.
it's
For
not
me,
for
Namio
self.
Horenge Kyo. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's not for self.
I just love this that you put that in your bio. And I just want to say I have been scouring the internet because you've said some pretty cool things. If anybody doesn't know, go to Broadway World. Go first of all, Google Leandra and you will get this great Broadway World interview. And you said that you started in the color guard at your school. What? We didn't have a color guard. What is the color guard?
So it's in marching band, which is big in the South.
Right?
They have a color guard, which is girls that twirl flags, but it's not like little flags that might be like 3, 4 feet. They're like 6 foot poles that
Right.
had flags on them. And so I've always been a musical child. I did band, chorus. Like I always wanted my hands on things. I've always been, my brain can't take, I need to touch, I need to feel, I need to do, I need to be active, I need to think, I need to write, I need to draw. Like all of those things need to happen. And so because of that, I was in band and I was like, oh, I want to twirl that pole.
Wait, what did you play in band?
I played the bass clarinet.
Oh my God, I never knew that. Go ahead.
So I did that. And so when I saw color guard, I've always been the kid that's like, if I see something, I'm like, I can do that. Who cares? I'll try it. So I did color guard. And so that's where I started to dance. I've never taken a dance class until I was in college.
Okay. I don't know if anybody understands what that means. That's our dance captain, okay? This is our dance captain who just had passion and went for something. I hope everybody can take that as a lesson. It's pretty amazing. Now, it's mind blowing. I'm learning things about Leandra that I never knew. It's just, this is why I would like to interview the people that are kind of behind the scenes. Now you're actually covering Tina, so it's a different thing. But I want people to understand what goes on you know what I mean? Like in a
Yeah.
show. This is just mind blowing to me. Okay, now hold on. So it's color guard, and then yeah, you say also that you've been a swing, you've been a dance captain, an ensemblist, and now you've been a Broadway principal. Now here's a quote from Leandra. I need to say it because I found it and it's beautiful. One thing I've learned: don't ever let anyone confine you to a box. You can have all that you imagine, so be bold.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's really good. Oh, see, that's a little party hat. My mother's here. So, yeah, so that's where, and then, I feel that you kind of inspire us in the room. I'll be at a rehearsal with you on Friday from 1 to 5, by the way. And you do that for other people too. You encourage them to be bold.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
important. I think
Who taught you that?
my dad was a Marine, and I think as a kid, the thing my dad would always say is like, she's so brave. She's so brave. That was like my thing. And it's because I was taught that you don't get anything by sitting back, but you also don't get anything by being boastful. So in the middle of that has to be boldness. And if that means boldness to be loud, or boldness to be quiet, or boldness to figure out your own footing on your own time. I don't think that being bold always I think people say when be bold, it means be boastful. Actually, it means stand in your truth.
Mm.
That's what be bold is.
Oh yeah.
And
That
so
yeah,
because of
that
that, I've learned that through my family, through church, through just like my roots as a human. I think also too, there's something powerful that my best friend always says, nothing to prove and everything to share.
whoa. That's good. Nothing to prove, everything to share. I will be taking that with me. That's amazing. And I notice when you're teaching too, you actually don't do it in kind of a demonstrative. You do it very succinctly, but you also admit when you don't know. You go, "Oh my God, let me go over that again because I don't remember. Let me stand on this side and go this way." And so everybody feels like they're kind of co-creating with you, even though you're kind of in charge. You
Yeah,
know, that's a beautiful thing too, because the way we behave in a room on Broadway is very important. Do people want to be in a room with you?
yeah,
That's they don't realize we have to be there all the time, with each other. So we want to be able to be in the room with people and feel like it's collaborative, which I love about you. And my favorite thing that you say to everyone, you tell them to do something, you go, "Does that make sense?" That's my favorite, Leandra. Does that make sense? Because it better make sense to them. But it's great. Okay, now music of Tina Turner. You have a quote about that too. You said it's the beat nobody can really describe. You feel it in your body every time you hear Tina's music. So, can you explain that a little further? I love that you said that.
yeah. There is something, I think, knowing Ike, or not knowing him, but in learning about him, he was very deliberate about the beat of music.
Right.
Tina never sang behind the beat. She never sang in front of the beat. She sang on top of the beat.
That's right.
And so because it was very deliberate that every bum bum bum
Yes.
inside of that there's so many other beats. You could syncopate that so many different ways. You could do
Right.
so many different things. And so it's actually unexplainable what it is actually. But what you can explain is that if you hear gun gun gun, you're simply the best, your body naturally knows what to do. You
Yes.
hear we don't need another, your body knows. Ooh, love,
Yes.
like all of it. You can't explain it, but anybody from someone who can't dance to someone who can't, or is not musically inclined, they do have a sense of the beat.
Right. And the other thing is she made up her own dance moves. Like there's one part in the show where they go chicken and they do they
Yes,
do chicken and then they do
did
what do they do? I don't
the
even know what they're
thumbs,
called.
the thumbs,
Thumbs, ovaries.
over like
And
things like that. Like it's so crazy because I think she was an innovator. She was an innovator.
yes.
And so a chicken does flap its wings, but what does that
Right.
look like on the human body?
Right.
What does the chicken express? And what does it express on a female? Also, what does it express on girls that get to wear wigs that might look crazy to you, but also short dresses that doesn't sexualize them, but actually makes them powerful?
Yes, I love that line in the show. He goes, "You wear short skirts to be sexy." She goes, "No, I don't. To have my legs be free. That's why I wear
I
short
wear them so
skirts."
my legs can be free, so I can stand in my power, not so I
Right.
can run from it.
I love you, Leandra. I knew this was going to be great because I know you in the show and I have a thing for you because we have a similar thing, but I just love to hear about you in your life and where you're coming from. The other thing I wanted to ask you is how early did you, by the way, you were born in Mount Vernon, and that's not far from where I am right now.
Wow.
Mount Vernon, but then you moved to South Carolina,
Mhm.
correct? And then you stayed there until you went to college?
Yeah, so I was born in Mount Vernon, and in between that, we moved to Florida, Alabama, North Carolina, military states, and then
Oh,
ended
right.
up in South Carolina from the time I was in fifth grade until I graduated high school.
Okay. And so that's where you did the color guard stuff.
Yeah, that's where I cultivated a life of of my childhood.
Wow. That is great. So then you went to AMDA though. Didn't you go to
Yeah.
AMDA?
I went to Los Angeles and New York.
And New York?
Yeah, I did one semester in New York and the rest in Los Angeles.
Oh, that's so great. And then didn't you like book Tina when you were on tour?
Yeah,
How
so
did you audition from on tour? Did you have to send a self-tape and what happened?
no, so crazy enough, and I feel so blessed. Um, After I booked my first job out of college, which was the international tour of hair,
Right.
I had about 6 months before I did that. So I did Busch Gardens, then I did hair. Then after I did hair, I booked my next job while doing hair, which was
Right.
after midnight. So I've always been able to book a job while doing a job, which has been like very odd. Not odd. I've just been blessed in that season. But while I was on
Yes.
Beautiful, um, I got an email about like, hey, they're doing these auditions for Tina. They're looking for dancers. And at first, I said, I don't know if I can do this because I thought the dancing was going to be like Hamilton, like just out of here. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
So I went in and enjoyed myself, had such a great time, got a call back while on the tour, flew in for 24 hours, came in, sang, was told that they wanted to see me dance again, but I had to catch my flight because I was on in Beautiful that night. So I had to leave. I didn't dance again. I got a phone call that I was in the mix, that they really loved me. Then a week later, I get another phone call. Unfortunately, it doesn't think it'll work out for her. And that was because they had a height requirement at the time.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
And so they had a height requirement. Then 2 weeks later, actually,
Wait. Before the 2 weeks, is that a typical thing to have a height requirement on Broadway?
well, it's technically, I don't want to call it I think a height requirement is the wrong words. Technically, it would go this way, depending on who your leads are. If you notice,
Right.
Adrian
Yeah.
and Daniel both are shorter.
Right.
So you have to decide how you want your company to fare against them.
Interesting. I never knew that. Thank you.
So, for instance, if you look at Funny Girl right now, nobody in that show, other than Beanie, is under 5'8", I believe,
Oh my God.
or 5'5". I mean, for the girls, I think nobody should be under 5'6", 5'7", and that's because of the story they're trying to tell. So, most shows there is a height situation.
Okay, so in your height requirement, were you too tall or too short?
I was too short. I'm
You were too
5'3" flat.
Okay.
And so I got a call 2 weeks later that actually I now fit because they ended up casting Destiny, who is
Right.
one of my best friends. She is, on the shorter end. I won't put her height out. And so the other girls ended up coming in at 5'4" and 5'5", and I'm 5'3". So I fit right in the middle of that range.
Oh my God. You can't be my height. I always thought you were taller. You're so dynamic on stage. There's no way that I thought you were.
I hope I sound like a tall person, but actually in reality, I'm much shorter. I promise
Okay.
you. Yeah.
When I see you this week, I'm going back to back with you. I have never known that. You are so dynamic and larger than life on the stage. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
So then you were able to fit. And
So
then
then I got another call like, hey, they need her to come back in to sing one more time for Nick Skillback, who I love and cherish. And it's
Don't we love him? He is our music supervisor. He is so great.
He's so great and so picky,
Yes.
which is such a good thing. So like, I had to come back in and sing for him. And I came back in and sang, and then I got the call that I got the swing position and I got the dance captain position. It was crazy. I only danced once, where other girls had danced 2, 3, 4 times. I only danced once. That was it for me.
Because wasn't Auntie and Janet at the thing?
Well, I only danced for Janet.
Okay.
And I ended up meeting Phillida and the whole team when I went into the room. And what I loved about my audition was I went in and sang the material and did the scenes, and all of that went great. And at the end, Phillida was like, okay, I just want to talk to you. And she asked me, what was my biggest regret in life and what was my biggest accomplishment?
Wait a minute. Is everybody hearing this? The director of our show of Tina. What was your biggest accomplishment? And what was the first question?
Well, my biggest regret.
Biggest regret. Okay. Because she knew that would elicit emotion. What was your biggest regret and your biggest accomplishment? Let's hear what you said in the audition.
Yeah. So at this time, I think this had to be what, 2019?
It must have been 19 because it was pre-pandemic and I got hired in August of 19.
So we started rehearsal August of 19. I booked it come April of 19. So that means I auditioned in January.
Got it. Okay.
So in auditioning, she asked me what was my biggest regret. And I said my biggest regret wasn't doing enough during the presidential election when Trump won.
Wow.
That was my biggest regret. And after I said that, we talked about that a little bit, about just what it means to be an American citizen, what it meant for my father to be a Marine, like what it actually means for freedom, especially
Yes.
for a Black culture, what that means, and
Yes.
being president, what might have been taken away from that, or just we had a conversation, a dialogue about that. And my biggest accomplishment was that I was happily married and standing on my own 2 feet.
Whoa, I can't. I had to get. And I see pictures, your wedding pictures on Facebook, and your husband looks like a doll. I have never met your husband, but
Yeah, super sweet.
yeah, so amazing. And those were the answers. See, that's what I'm saying about Phillida too. Great, great director. Really wants to know who the person is. Remember all those exercises we did for a week?
I know. She's incredible. She has a saying, which I think is something I try to take with me everywhere. She doesn't want to work with anybody she can't go on vacation with.
Oh my God, does she say that?
Yeah. And so I think about our company and I think about the family we've created and the way in which we work. And I can see how no one was picked because, especially the original company, everybody was picked because they were meant to go on vacation with each other.
That is so true. I love hanging out with you guys. It's just unbelievable. I want to touch on something you touched on, and I want to open it up a little bit because our cast is primarily people of color.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through a terrible thing in the pandemic, as you know.
Yeah.
And with everything that we went through with Black people basically getting murdered, I'm sorry, if I'm going into this and you don't want to talk about it, please let me know.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. We had to recalibrate how our cast was going to come back together.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that our company took the time to do that. Do you feel satisfied with the way they did that?
I do. I think that it was structurally important. And I think that it still is a challenge to this day. I think it's something that will always be a challenge for companies,
right.
Especially with a show like Tina that is very broken up into 2 portions, Black and white, and also our show is broken up in that manner. Mm-hmm. The first act, which is primarily Black folk, and the second act, which is primarily white folk. That is the trajectory of Tina's life. And so it is an important story to tell. But I think it was something that we had to figure out as a company.
Yeah.
I think what's most important, though, in the conversation about Black Lives Matter and the conversation about working with people of color in general, mm-hmm. especially in the arts, it is important that people remember the story that you're trying to tell. Mm. And how are people affected that have to tell that story?
Yes.
That is the most important thing. What is the purpose of the story and how does it affect the people that have to tell the story daily?
Right. And tell it effectively in such a and deal with the period of time that things were very different. Some things are still the same, but things were very different. But to portray it authentically every single day takes its toll, right?
Yes, it's heavy. And especially, I think no one really thinks about Broadway. Everybody gets this theory that it's a fairy tale and it's magical. Mm-hmm. But actually, next to the word Broadway is called consistency. Mm-hmm. Everything has to be consistent, consistently great. It all has to be in that same wheelhouse. Right. Now, there is room for it to meld and to grow and to find its own life. That's what theater and art is, actually. But in a commercial setting, it has to breathe and live within these walls. And so for people of color who are constantly having to live and breathe within these walls, it can be a challenge when race is involved.
Yes.
Also, musical theater is something that is hard for Black people to digest.
In how so? And I'm sorry if I'm being ignorant about this, but
No,
go
no, no,
ahead.
you're not. You're not. I think musical theater presents itself as something that should have a great I want and a fairy tale ending.
Right.
And in between all of that, there should be dazzle and a little bit of truth and something that gives you a sensory memory or something that makes you feel good.
Right.
And so, musical theater for Black people can be hard to relate to if their circumstances or people of color circumstances don't live in a place where fairy tale endings often happen for them, or in spaces where they don't feel as if there's always good things mixed within that. The beauty of Tina the musical is that it's lives and breathes off truth.
Yes.
So that's why it's easier to digest for Black folk, because it's about a Black woman and it's about something that really happens and it's about triumph. It's about, the eagle
Yeah.
sing
And
again
faith
and
too.
faith. So it's all those things that people of color, especially Black folks, can relate to.
Oh, that
And so I
was
think it was so important that coming back into the theater, into that conversation, that our company had that kind of conversation.
yeah. It was so inspiring to me. I was like, "Oh my god, are other people taking the time to do this?" It was just so great because we just couldn't get back on stage and just start performing
Yeah.
after that whole pandemic and everything that happened. You know, thank you. Thank you for explaining that. Thank you. Um, I wanted to talk about something I read about Jalen. Jalen, I remember you falling to the floor when he got the job. Okay.
Yes.
You were screaming. I was like, what's wrong? Is something wrong? You go, no, I'm so excited. So explain who Jalen is to you and who he is to the show.
So Jalen Livingston is was in 2019 the associate director for Tina the Teen Turner musical. It just happens to be that he also has been my best friend since we were 17.
Oh,
And we have been blessed to make our Broadway debut together at Tina. And we've been blessed to produce and to co create and to collaborate, not only in life together as partners in life, but also creatively.
great. And you did produce something with him. What was it called? Broadway's Black Voices of the Future? Was that what it
Yes,
was?
Broadway's Black Voices of the Future at Lincoln Center.
Okay, what was that? Was just people singing? Like, I wish I had seen that.
Yeah, so me and him together curated a list of artists, up and coming artists who had written songs for their musicals, Black creators who had written musicals that had not been fully published yet, and had them do perform works of art from their musicals.
So this is what I see. You're a producer. You are just the way you teach dance, just everything. I can see that you can be in charge in that way and just pay attention to detail everywhere. That's your thing.
Yeah,
The
one of my things.
yeah, you have many things. So talking about, because I want to have a little question and answer period if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's totally
So
fine.
if anybody does want to come up, please, just ask, request, push the little button and, request to come up. And I'd be happy to have any of you come up and either say something or ask a question of Leandra. In the future now, like you said, that's one of the things I do. What do you see for yourself? I know that's a hard question for people, but what do you see?
I see a lot. I think in the future, I see me producing. I kind of want, I tend to lean towards a Debbie Allen lifestyle
Okay.
um, in producing and directing. Also, just like cultivating the kind of work I want to do as an artist. I want to be specific about the kind of work that I act in, the kind of work that I sing in. I'm really interested in a new musical that I have in my head called Heart, which will be super exciting.
Are
Um,
you writing it?
yeah, so it's a story about what happens to a young black girl who learns how to sing opera through her wall,
Oh,
her apartment wall she shares with an opera teacher.
I love it. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, so it's that story, and I produce a lot with Destiny Ray. Also produce a lot with Jalen, and just working into directing, and also just like all around cultivation of art that inspires and that creates joy.
Yeah, it's the joy creator. The joy creator. So we have Charlotte that wanted to come up on stage. Charlotte, would you like to unmic and ask Leandra or comment on anything Leandra said?
Boy, would I. First of all, thank you so much for coming to the show, Leandra. And I just want to say a special hello to you as a retired United States Navy sailor, that you are a part of my family. Your father, your mother, your entire team is a part of my family. So
Oh,
semper fidelis to you, Leandra.
thank you.
And thank you for your service. And I see you and I get it big time because I'm also a drummer. I grew up with rhythm. I studied rhythms, and I am a huge. I'm a student of Mama De Keita,
Mm,
who just passed away June 20th last year, and someone who I've followed since I was a teenager. But what you were discussing in particular with regards to rhythm is how we speak about pulse. You know,
Mm,
that oftentimes rhythms are established and directed in linear patterns.
mm,
We work on pulse because pulse is the reason why we live, and it is the connection that we all have. And either we are in agreement when we play rhythms, or we're having an argument. There's only two ways. There's only two ways, right? So understand that this drummer, this percussionist understands that I have a tremendous responsibility to you, the dancer, to you, the performer, because if I am having an argument in my section, that means that dancers can fall. It
mm.
can actually be quite dangerous. And so thank you so much for sharing your respect for the language of rhythm. It truly resonated with me, and I appreciate
Of course.
thank you,
Thank you,
Charlotte. That
Charlotte.
was that was great. I love Yeah, it's amazing. When I and my favorite thing is Leandra at the end of the show when we're all taking bows. Leandra's near me and I'm playing the piano like crazy, and we have to be in masks, and Leandra doesn't have to be. She always smiles, and sometimes she even like comes back to me and gives me a hug. It's such a wonderful feeling at the end. You have created joy. That's the only way. And now, I sometimes ask questions that are, you can say to me, Barsha, I'm not answering that question. But there was an incredible thing I read. I really did a lot of research, and the Journey to Beautiful, you auditioned for 9 times, it says 9 times. And it was always not this time, you said. And then you told Jalen it was time to cut your hair. Can you talk about what happened there?
Yeah. So I had auditioned for Beautiful 9 times, and I'd gotten married, and I had been in this like weird phase of like wigs, and I had really pretty hair, and like just like hair in the black community can be very tricky. But I was having a rough time with it, and I had felt like this urge to just cut my hair off and show up authentically as me. Not show up how I think somebody needs to see my hair that moment, not show up how people needs to. I don't think people understand what hair does. Hair can change the way somebody looks. Hair can express something for somebody. Hair can do all of those things. So I needed to feel like it had a hold over me, and I needed that to stop.
Right.
So I called Jalen and I was like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna cut my hair off." And he was like, "I think you should do it." So me and my husband went down to Brooklyn. I shaved my hair, and my husband cried and I cried. And my hair was stunning. I had no hair on my head. And I went to an audition for Beautiful again. And the moment I walked in the room, that I knew I booked it. And
After 9 times, because you made that inner change and that outer change. And so you just
yeah,
showed up as yourself.
I showed up as me. And it was so interesting. The associate choreographer, Joyce Chittock, who I adore and love, said to me when I booked it, she was like, you always booked it. From the first time you auditioned, you always booked the show. Just the role for you wasn't available yet.
Wow.
And when you came in with your haircut and you came in, there was nobody else. And you were there. Your face was on fire. It was out of control. And I think that moment taught me, like, oh, actually, as performers or as people, the clothes and the hair and the makeup make us feel all these things, when actually if we wipe all of that away and just show up as ourselves, that is what's going to come through the most.
I gotta do it. I had to give it to you. I mean, that is so, in this business especially. That's amazing. And you do talk after that, and I do want to say this because we focus on it in the show too, about your ancestors. Like you say, I've been inspired by amazingly strong, resilient women, from my grandmother to my mother. So when I audition for shows about women, something's in my DNA that makes me relate.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what is that connection? Because we really focus on it too in our show about the ancestors.
Yeah. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I
Wow.
am my mother's wildest dreams. And I've broken so many generational curses in my family. Um, and so when auditioning for works, which is something that I'm still trying to work through, and recently I've gotten kind of brave about knowing what's for me and what's not, and what I want to be a part of and what I don't. But
Right.
what I know is that when I walk into a room, my ancestors walk with me.
Oh, I love
My
that.
mother walks with me. My grandmothers walk with me. My great grandmothers walk with me. And I was raised in a family. My grandmother is the oldest of 13,
Wow.
and only 2 of them were boys. So she has 10 sisters. So I have 9 great aunts.
Oh,
And from my 9 great aunts, I have 36 great cousins that are women.
right.
So my whole family is a family full of powerful women,
Wow.
like brilliant, powerful women. And so in my DNA, which I relate to Tina a lot, is a spirit of compassion,
Yeah.
but a spirit of resilience, strength, perseverance, resilience. All of those things exist in there. So I
And
think,
you equate that with being a woman,
yeah, and
which is,
that's yeah, it
yeah,
all is in me. So yeah,
yeah, right.
And don't forget wisdom. Wisdom, Leandra. That comes through loud and
Yes, it does. That's a good point, Charlotte. Good point.
yeah,
So, with that power, I want to delve into your personal life a little bit. Tell me to be quiet, but to find a man who supports that and can still feel his own person, and
mm,
you can, how did you know it was the right person? Because you're this powerful woman and you need to, you know what I mean? I mean, because
yeah. Crazy enough, I got married really young, which I think was a blessing because I'm a little cuckoo. So I think if I was out here by myself now as an adult, I would be a little not sturdy. So I'm grateful that I got married really young. But actually, super funny. I met my husband in college, college sweethearts, and he graduated before me, moved to New York. I graduated, moved instantly. I graduated college on a Saturday. I moved to New York on a Tuesday. I booked my first show on a Thursday.
Whoa.
That's like how fast everything kind of happened.
Amazing.
And he proposed to me and my grandmother. And I remember when he proposed, I was very excited. But like a week before that, I knew something was going down, and my grandmother did too. And I told her I was really nervous. I feel like I'm too young to do anything. Like, I need to focus. I need to focus. And my grandmother told me, you'd be a fool not to marry that man and to experience love in life in every way. Do not be afraid of the outcome, but always push each day for a good one. And so, yeah, so I said yes. And so
he was going to school at AMDA? I mean, is he still in the business?
No. He's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how many years has it been?
This year, we've been married for 4 years. This year will be 5.
Oh my God, that is so great.
So my grandmother was the one that was like, you would be out of your mind. And as I get older, I understand exactly what she means. And it was a blessing.
That's a great story. I just had to go there for a minute because because when you're supported in your life in that way and somebody really marvels at your power and loves your power, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to know, is there any place, since you took your vacation in Costa Rica and your family has that place, is there any other place you're dying to visit or perform in?
Yeah, I have a few places. I know for a fact that I'll perform at Lincoln Center.
Right.
I know that for a fact. I feel that in my bones.
Yep.
I would really, 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 really enjoy going to Rome again.
Rome is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I went when I was 22 and enjoyed myself. And so I really want to go back there. Yeah, I would love to do a tour, a concert tour, like symphony work.
Wow, I didn't know that side of you. So you have this classical side to you.
Yeah, I do. I learned how to sing opera when I was 13. And I did that for a long time. And then musical theater kind of came out of that because I couldn't really speak the languages. I had a rough time.
Right.
Couldn't understand the things. I just couldn't get it. But I heard Kathleen Battle sing and Jesse Norman and the original Porgy and Bess and was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to move spaces like that with that kind of sound. So I did that for a while.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Well, I just really feel like, I've been bugging you to do this, and I'm sorry last time we had to reschedule because I got called out of town to do Jersey Boys in I don't know where, but that was fun. But anyway, for you to, do this for me, like I say, I always want to honor people on their day off, for coming. And this is not really a performance. Like you said to me today, I'm very relaxed. I'm good, I really want. And the last thing I want to ask you, because it's like our life, my partner and I's life, what kind of dog do you have? Can I see the dog?
Yes, I don't know. Can you turn?
I think you can, because I'm just such a dog person. You said, oh, I'm going to pick my dog up after vacation. I thought, where did she put the dog? We want to find a good place to put dogs.
So that's him.
Oh, what's his name?
His name is Otis.
And he looks like like a Portuguese. What is he? What is his?
He is a Dachshund. So it's a Dachshund mixed with a poodle.
He's a Dachshund and a poodle.
That's him. He's napping, so he's like, leave me.
Okay, leave him leave sleeping dogs like. Okay, so this is amazing. I can't wait to see you back at the show this week. Thank you, Charlotte, for coming up and asking a question. Leandra, you have just been amazing today. I learned things about you I didn't know, which makes me love you even more. So everybody, please give a big round of applause for Leandra. And I just want to say, Leandra, you are an inspiration. You are a joy creator. And everywhere you go, you will manifest joy, and joy will follow you.